Greeting NSNL families. This is Mrs. Kenny. I'm glad you came to watch my video on digital citizenship. I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person this evening as I am home on medical leave, which will be done with, and I'll be back with the students the week we return from winter break. So I look forward to that. So I want to talk to you a little bit about digital citizenship, which is a class that we've had at NSNL for, I think this is the 13th year we've had it. The first thing I want to introduce you to is not that slide. How about this one? So we go through a variety of productivity tools that the students use, which currently I use Pear Deck with almost every lesson, which gives the students, myself, feedback and gives the students feedback, gets them engaged in the lessons every day. Your student is using their Google Apps for Education account. That's their Gmail account that they should be using, logging in from any of their devices to access Zoom and anything else. I'll be introducing your students to different extensions in Chrome that help them be more productive as well. So we've already gone through this particular lesson, which was the communications piece of it. We spent quite a bit of time on email as the form of communication in a professional environment. And in school and moving forward, the preferred method of communication between teachers and students when it's not face-to-face is usually email. Surprisingly enough, our students don't overall needed some work with that, and they're done really well. My guest teacher, Randy Covey, and my assistant, Cody, have done a great job with the students. So I'm asking you, parents, that when your student needs to email, or you're feeling like I need to email my student's teacher, I'd like them to practice that. If you'd like to be with them and support them in writing it, I'd like them to be part of that. And they can CC you for sure. But get them used to advocating for themselves and communicating with the teachers themselves with the skills they've learned from this class. Currently, we are doing a unit on information media literacy, which includes learning about things. How do you evaluate websites? How do we know the information on social media, on news sites, on the internet? How do we know that information is accurate and truthful? So far they seem to be doing pretty well on that. The next one after this, and I usually put this one first, but I wanted to include, really get them to understand how to evaluate websites before we moved on. This one, and it's going to be difficult, parents, but it's on focus, the ability to focus. We've been in a pandemic now for nearly a year, and our students have spent a lot of time inside with their devices, and the level of them wanting to be separated from those devices, or the ability to separate themselves, is difficult. We're going to talk about how they create plans to focus on the task, which is their schoolwork, right? Without looking at another device, without having the television on, or having their Game Boy right next to them, or having their phones next to them. So if you pop in and see your student during class and you see a phone next to them, my expectation, and I show this at the beginning of class, is I walk my phone and put it on a bookcase behind me. So I want them to see that it's better to have those devices out of arm's reach so we can truly focus on the lessons at hand. And we'll do look at some brain research in this lesson, and I'm going to be asking them to spend some time every day without being connected to a device, and that includes their computer to do their homework. Okay. The next piece, we will do all of them, and I asked them in the beginning of class, what do you want to get out of this class? And they all want to be safe online. And that does include, how can I be safe on social media? How can I be safe when I'm buying things online? How can I be sure I don't get malware, malicious software, or get hacked? They all don't want to get hacked. So we will talk about that. And these are going to be more brief than they are in normal face-to-face school. Our time together is limited, but we will definitely get to this unit as well. I'm going to be giving the cyberbullying and sexting piece as it pertains to our ed code. What happens when it's the social emotional piece. These kids know, they've been taught this in elementary school and middle school about cyberbullying. But I want to go a little bit into the social emotional piece with them. Also sexting, which occurs. It's just something that occurs, and how much they should be sharing, how little they should be sharing, and what are the consequences if they do those things. We've already touched this. They also want to know about their digital footprint, right? And how it's going to look when they turn 18 and they have people that, the schools that they want to apply to or the jobs they want to apply. They do all of these organizations go and look at a student's digital footprint. So it's good to have an online presence for sure, but to be careful and what you put out there. We probably aren't going to get very into this particular piece. I'm going to give them some takeaways, looking at copyright infringement as it pertains to the internet, and giving creative credit, which I think people should do if you're going to be sharing online. Make sure you give credit. If you share something on Facebook, I'll talk our talk, right? When we share something on Facebook, we should always say thanks to the person that we got it from. Give them credit. So we do a little bit of that. And lastly, if you, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this already. Let me move myself out of the way. Common Sense Media, please sign up. Take a look at this. There's tons and tons and tons of information for families. With that said, if you are capable, I want to talk about the student setups at home moving forward. I see the light at the end of the tunnel with COVID and us going back to school, and I sure hope that sooner than later. In the meantime, let's get our kids ready. Let's transition them, getting them ready to get back to school. And that means getting normalized bedtimes. What I'm seeing is our kids have backwards bedtimes where they're awake all night, they want to sleep all day, they're groggy in class. So like assimilating them back into a regular school day, really important. Getting them to get up in the morning, shower at night, get dressed before their first period class, normalize getting themselves ready for school, eating food, sitting down someplace other than their bed. That's huge, huge, huge. They shouldn't be in bed for school. They should be up if you have the space in your home. And I tell some students that say, I have no other place than my room. Then I say, sit down on the floor. Don't sit in your bed. Really important. And I will tell you, lastly, students that turn off their cameras, and I don't want to ever force a student to do anything, but I can tell you with 100% certainty, 99.9% of our kids that turn cameras off are disengaged and doing something else. So if you wander by and you notice maybe you don't even notice if their cameras are off, but in my class, my expectation that cameras are on. However, if your student has a special situation, they just have to let me know. Again, and if a student, and I will tell you this, I never kick a student out of my class. Some kids think I do, but I don't. If I call a student and say their name over and over and over and over, and I have no response at all, I put them in the waiting room. So maybe they'll glance over and notice they're not in the class anymore, and they'll try to re-enter. And I do that because I just don't want kids walking away. And I don't want, it's called ghosting in class. So please support your students and communicate with them. But it's time for us to re-assimilate back into getting back into face-to-face school, which I think is coming sooner than later. If you have any questions for me, I'm available. Just go ahead and email me through Parent Square. And I hope we see each other face-to-face really soon. Thank you.